Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the GM. It is your guy, Boulanger. Up next, Ravens versus Texans. Keys to victory. Let's talk. The Baltimore Ravens and the Houston Texans kick off tomorrow in Houston on a Christmas Day matchup. On a Wednesday, I might add. Yeah, kind of an odd day, right? I don't remember it being a Wednesday game since probably the height of COVID. Nevertheless, I think this matchup will be decided by a battle of the fittest. Both teams had hard-nosed matchups last week. The Texans faced off against the Chiefs, and the Ravens, of course, faced off against the Steelers. And there's a whole host of injuries listed for both teams coming into the Christmas Day matchup. So I think it's going to be a survival type game. Who has the advantage? Well, I don't think either team has an advantage. You would think that Houston has the advantage because they're playing at home, but I think some of their injuries are more severe and extensive than those that the Ravens suffered. Some people might think that the Ravens have an advantage because of their ability to run with Lamar and Derrick Henry, and how Derrick Henry has the potential to kind of steady the game for the Baltimore Ravens, and Lamar can complement it with the pass. But I don't think that's going to be as much of a factor, as it's going to come down to who executes and when they execute. I think the Houston Texans will come in with two mentalities. The first mentality is to run the ball. Joe Mixon has run the ball very well and probably has put himself into Pro Bowl contention, right? I think that they're going to try and run the ball at the Baltimore Ravens defensive front. And so we have to stand up to that. I think they're going to make the pass this week a complement of that. Simply because I don't know if Shaq Mason, I think he's a guard for the Houston Texans. I don't know if he plays. And so when you have a replacement along your offensive line, you want to make sure you run the ball to keep your quarterback upright and clean. And so I think that's the first thing they're going to try and do. They're definitely going to try and go deep with Nico Collins. He absolutely has that kind of ability. And I think the signing of Deontay Johnson may be a bigger deal than some people may be expecting. I think they're going to try on purpose to get Deontay Johnson involved early. Johnson is going to have something to prove, and the Houston Texans lost Tank Dell last week, and so they're going to need Johnson to be a contributor. And so I think that that's what we're going to see in this game early. So the Baltimore Ravens, on the other hand, I think that we need to attack them where they're the most vulnerable. This secondary is pretty good, right? And we have a banged up Zay Flowers, right? We have a banged up Rashad Bateman. We have a banged up Nelson Aguilar. And so I don't too particularly want to invest in deep passes and things like that, especially when they got two top-notch edge rushers if they both are healthy and they're both playing. And so where they're the most vulnerable is in the middle between their interior defensive lineman and that linebacking corps. I think we have an advantage. And so I think that we should have the same approach as we did last week. So let's get to the keys to victory. I think key number one, let's start on the offensive side of the ball. Run right at them. I don't too particularly want to play around on the edges in the run game. I want to run right at this team. They have some question marks in their interior defensive linemen. They have some question marks in their linebacking corps. And that was before any type of injury. They had questions before. So now with some injury concerns, I think that we should run right at them. I know we have a concern with Tyler Linderbaum. Is he going to play? Is he not going to play? And so I think no matter who plays center, the efforts of the Baltimore Ravens key is to run the ball right at them. The very same way we did against the Pittsburgh Steelers, who have a much better defensive front. So I think that's key number one. Key number two, minimize deep passes, right? I think once we establish the run game and we start hitting the play action, the deep passes will come into play. But I think starting off this game, because of their edge rushers, I think we need to pay attention to the short to intermediate routes so that we can get the ball out of Lamar Jackson's hands and keep him upright and clean. I think key number three, offensively, minimize. I know that we're going to make some mistakes, offsides, holding, stuff like that at some point in this game, but we need to keep that to a minimum. I think we need to have 4 or less penalties on the offense. That's basically 1 penalty per quarter. And so I think that if we can minimize the penalties, I think we can stay on track offensively. Again, I think that this defense, because of their injuries and their lack of talent in some areas, I think that they're going to struggle to stop what we do well. What we do well is run the ball. What we do well is to hit the play action passes. And so I think that if we hit these three keys, I think that we can come out with about 28 to 32 points in this game. All right. First key for the defense, stop the run. Like I said earlier in this narrative, the Houston Texans are going to come out with a purpose to run the ball, and they're going to try to do it often. And so I think our defensive front needs to play on the other side of the line of scrimmage. Meta BK needs to show up in this game. Michael Pierce needs to have another big sack like he had in this last game. Travis Jones, who I didn't hear much from in last game, I need him to come alive in this game. And for goodness sakes, Odafe Owe and somebody along with him, maybe Calvin Noe again, come alive and let's stop the run first. I believe if we stop the run first, we keep our linebackers clean, and then they can scrape up everything that makes it out of that first line of defense. Key number 2 for the Baltimore Ravens to get a victory in this game, I believe on the defense side of the ball, we must keep everything in front of us. They are going to try and go deep with their wide receivers. And if we get involved with some pass interference and things like that, they can pick up big yards that they didn't earn. So I think if we keep everything in front of us, right, don't allow one wide receiver to just take over the game and dominate, which we have a tendency to do at times, I think that we will be okay defensively. Kind of that bend but don't break mentality. And I think key number 3, we need to force 2 turnovers, whether that's a fumble in the strip sack format, or whether that's an interception or some other form, right? I think we need to force 2 turnovers and give our offense 2 extra shots at putting points on the board. And I think if we can hit those 6 keys, I think we have a good chance to coming out with a victory. So before we get out of here, some key numbers I think we need to hit. I think we need to hit the 250 yards passing. I think hitting 250 yards passing on about 25 to 28 passes means we've been effective and efficient. I think that we need to hit probably the 3 touchdown passes. I think we probably need to hit the 150 plus yards rushing. I think if we can hit those metrics and some defensive stats, 3 sacks, 1 interception, and some other kind of turnover, I think we come out with a double-digit win in this game. But we have to play our brand. If we let the Texans come out and jump on top of us early and we have to play catch up, it kind of changes what we do. So listen, those are my keys to victory. Those are my numbers that we must hit. Let me know what you guys think. I'm your guy Boulanger. This is the GM. And again, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. I'm out.